Hey folks, was the shooting of Renee Nicole Good murder or an act of self-defense? Was she the antagonist or was ICE agents the antagonist? Are we within our rights to flee apparent danger even if that danger is coming from law enforcement, or should we just comply? Today, Larken Rose comes back on the show to discuss all of this and much more.
Welcome to the Bad Roman Podcast. The Bad Roman Project was created out of the firm belief that as Christians, we are called to follow Christ, not the state. Here is your host, Craig Hargis.
Larken, welcome to Swearing Sunday.
Let's see which one of us takes longer to swear first.
Yeah. This for context for the listeners. We were messaging. We're still pretty fresh, and we were both trying to decide who was going to cuss the most today. And since we've had a couple of days to kind of let it settle, maybe we'll get through without cussing too much. And
Maybe not.
We'll see. I have a bad habit, like I told you in messaging too. The last 3 times on the show, you never cussed one time. I did all the cussing.
Pretty funny. Yeah.
But here we are. So, are you tired yet? Are you exhausted? It's been a pretty exhausting few days for me. I don't want to speak for you, but it's been everything that we're seeing and all the conversations that I've had about it. It's starting to wear on me a little bit.
Yeah, it's heinous and evil. I've gotten to a point where I can sort of not really disassociate, because obviously I'm looking at it and talking about it and making videos about it. But sort of trying to be at peace with the world while trying to change it, which sounds like a contradiction. It's something I've been working on for a zillion years. I used to just constantly be frustrated and enraged at all the evil stuff going on. And it's plenty evil. It's plenty worth being enraged about. But it's sort of like being in a situation where you can do what's the saying? Give me the strength to change what I can and the wisdom, courage, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The wisdom to know the difference between what I can and can't change. But it's definitely, it takes an effort to not be frustrated and depressed and all that stuff when something this heinous is going on.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think what bothers me the most about it, and actually I know this is what bothers me the most about it, is we know how the state operates. We know how they're going to act. We know they're a bunch of thugs. We know all of this. But what's so bothersome to me is the people who are cheering for it.
Yeah.
And I can't wrap my brain around that, how you can look at something. We've all seen the video of what happened and how we can get 2 different opinions on it. Now you've got, of course, folks on the left are going to shout against it because Trump's doing it,
Right.
And the people on the right are going to support, at least try to defend it if they're not supporting it because Trump's doing it.
Yeah.
Now, but us with kind of a neutral viewpoint on it as anarchist, voluntarists, or whatever you describe yourself as, libertarian, whatever. I never even see libertarians defending some of this stuff, which is super strange to me.
Yeah.
And how we can come up with 2 different viewpoints on it. And I think that's something I want to talk to you about too. How do we get there where we're so divided on something that, to me, I mean, I've watched the video over and over and I can't see how this was not murder.
Yeah, it was. And in any other context, everybody would recognize that. The problem is that, I mean, I've only talked about this 8 billion times. The problem is that people think authority is real. They think the law means something. They think the agents of authority are something other than just people. And this is actually a fine example. Something like this happens, and it's easy to kind of lose faith in humanity and go, people all just lost their minds and became evil. Just like a bunch of people said about when the COVID circus happened. And I said, they didn't become evil. They already were this. You just don't usually see this because you don't usually see an opportunity to test whether people are sane and have a sane moral code or are indoctrinated worshipers of the state. And so it's sort of like, I mean, to give sort of a drastic analogy, you could probably go to pretty many slave plantations in chattel slavery days and see people working in the fields and go, well, I don't see anybody being whipped. Yeah, that's because they're doing the thing to avoid being whipped. Doesn't mean they wouldn't get whipped if they didn't obey. If one of them disobeyed and got whipped, lots of the other slaves would literally cheer for the whipping. And that's when you see, wow, this whole time, these people are absolutely mentally enslaved. And today they're mentally enslaved to the idea of a ruling class. And you only see it come out when the state does something heinously horrible and apologists come out of the woodwork, blame the victim and do all that. That's what a lot of people are every day. You aren't seeing it most of the time. And so I'm not more discouraged than at any other time. In a way, as weird as this sounds, I think there's something good about when the absolute evil shows its face so that the discussion can come out. As opposed to if you had a plantation full of slaves who are all working really hard and doing whatever the master says, okay, you can go, well, there's no violence here. There's no oppression here. They're happily going out and doing what they're... It's only when the conflict shows up that you see people's mentality, and at least the decent people have a chance to recognize, wow, this is evil. And I've posted that under like White House posts and JD Vance and stuff, and said it's actually useful when these people double down on being fascist lunatics so that anybody with a shred of decency who's watching can say, whoa, okay, this is a bit much. Wow. And the fact that lots of people won't do that and will go, yeah, they're totally right. Okay, those people were already indoctrinated. But sometimes, like, evil showing itself this obviously is a good thing, because anybody with a trace of humanity can pause and back up and go, I'm not for this, rah, 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 law enforcement and all that, but holy smokes, this is too much. And I am seeing some people doing that. So that's a good thing that comes out of just heinous fascist insanity.
That's good. I mean, that's good to hear that people are kind of taking a step back. It's like, well, wait a second, this is too much. And that's a great point about COVID. It was something I was thinking about myself, because whenever all that went down, I was completely ignorant to the people living around me and how they would just fall down on their face and worship the state, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It shocked me. I couldn't believe it. I remember driving to work and it was like a ghost town. Nobody's out doing anything. I'm thinking, man, what is wrong with people? What happened that you just believe all this, everything that the state's telling you? And now we've had 5 or 6 years now since COVID that maybe I forgot about that, or maybe I just wasn't thinking about it. And then this happens. And then I realize and I'm talking about people I know, like personally coming out and in defense of this. And it's like I said earlier, it's been pretty exhausting. And I've lost a couple of friends over the past few days because of it. But that's okay. I've lost friends in the past because of my beliefs, and I got to keep moving forward with what we're talking about. We cannot start being weak-kneed at this point. I mean, I think this is an opportunity for us to really show what voluntarism and anarchy would look like compared to what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. And this sort of reminds me of how many like movies and TV shows have been about, like, there's this cult. They don't say it's a cult to begin with. Oh, there's this weird community over here, and they seem perfectly normal and nice and polite. The movie The Village was like that. What was the Swedish thing? I forget the name. And it's like, oh, these people are sweet. And then you find out, oh, except when their beliefs tell them to do this bonkers evil thing. And then you suddenly realize, wow, they were this the whole time. Yeah, statists are that the whole time.
Yeah.
And in their day-to-day lives, they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't like shoot people in the face for no good reason, but they have been so indoctrinated into the belief of government and authority that it's not just a dispute about factually what happened in this case. There are so many layers beyond that. And most of the discussion is about, what was she trying to run him over? Because it's a discussion between statists and other statists. And they all sort of have the assumption of, well, of course, the people with badges have the right to just be barging around, pointing guns at people and stopping people and harass. No, they don't. She had the right to run that guy over. She wasn't trying to. She was just trying to get away. But that's something most statists can't think about. You have masked, armed, trigger-happy, power-happy, evil pieces of crap. Wait, does that count as me swearing?
No, you're good.
Harassing people who weren't threatening and harming anybody. And people think, oh, but they're law enforcement. They're doing their job. They're just good little Gestapo members following orders and enforcing the law. So most people skip over the thing of these are masked, armed, unstable strangers screaming at you, holding guns, trying to drag you out of your car. I would have shot them.
Yeah.
I would have shot the guy next to me and I would have run the other guy over if I had the chance, because that's violent armed psychopaths. And most people will cringe at the horror. How could you do that? Not because in any other situation they would condemn that, but because the psychopaths had badges. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
If some random other van of who knows who masked armed thugs jumped out and tried to drag me out of my car and I shot them, everybody would go, good for you. That was justified. Oh, but they have badges. They work for the ruling class. They work for our God, the United States of America government. So obviously you can't treat them like people. You can't hold them to the same moral standard. They are agents of the king. They are the king's guards. And to lift a finger against the king's guard is to lift a finger against the king himself. And almost nobody recognizes how utterly bonkers that is. Because it's most people. It's Republicans, it's Democrats, it's everybody who believes in government. So their discussion is like nitpicking about, well, procedurally, he wasn't supposed to. Yeah, that's true. Also, don't point guns at people who didn't threaten or harm anybody.
Yeah.
And in any other context, people would know that. But when it comes to this myth of political authority, they suddenly think the victim is the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because, well, you didn't obey. How many people have you seen say, well, he taught her that, and she didn't obey? Ew. How can you be that much of a slave that you actually believe that some random, unstable, gun-wielding, mask-wearing psychopath tells you something and you're obligated to obey him just because of who he works for? That is pathetic. And sadly, that's still most of humanity. And that's why pretty much everything I do is to try to get people out of the mindset of slaves so that they apply morality the same to everybody. And that means no more government.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed a lot too with the conversation I've had is it's absolute slave think, the way they're going about viewing this. They're not viewing it as a person who wants to be free or looking at it through the lens of freedom or liberty. They're actually looking through it through their lens of a slave and how they should just bow down and do everything they say. You know, I live outside of Memphis. Memphis is a dangerous city. And if I was in Memphis and I saw somebody approach me with guns, I'm not going to stop to look and see if they have a badge.
Right.
Or if they have a label police on their costume or whatever. To me, it looks like a gang. And so I'm going to do the same thing she did, but she didn't. I would have left a lot quicker than she did.
Yeah.
The first cop that tried to get into her vehicle was not the one that shot her.
Right.
And I think people are missing this point because we can all look at her wheels were turned to the right when she tried to take off. But the first ICE agent walked up and tried to open her door and tried to get into her vehicle.
Yeah.
She had every right to resist because he had no authority to be in her vehicle. She did not give him consent to get into her vehicle.
Yeah.
The other agent was circling her vehicle. I mean, he went around it and then got in front of the vehicle, which they're not supposed to do. They're supposed to be trained not to do that, from what I understand.
Right.
I saw something too. It was a perfect point. If you want to defend the first shot as self-defense, fine. But what about the next two shots where he's on the driver's side of the vehicle, firing into the vehicle?
Yeah.
What was that?
That was murder.
That was murder.
And I made a short video about exactly that. And to me, one of the most telling things is that almost nobody on the right has the spine to say that. Because they can say, well, he thought he was going to run her over and blah, blah, blah. Like, you can try to make that argument for the first shot. The second and third, you can't. But none of these loyal, bootlicking state worshipers have the honesty to even say something so indisputably obvious as Maybe the first shot was self-defense. I mean, no, it wasn't, but they can pretend it was. The second and third were murder. He's standing next to the car, passenger side. He is in no danger. She's unarmed and trying to leave. He's holding a gun right up to her face and pulling the trigger. That is murder. And if there was a law allowing that, it would still be murder. And if the procedures say do this or don't do that, it was still murder. And the fact that you have people making excuses for what is obviously murder shows the depths of their statist indoctrination. The fact that they'll make excuses for that. And it's just amazing how unaware people are of how much their authoritarian indoctrination has control over them. Because most Americans, right or left, think, I'm a thinking individual and I'm responsible and I'm moral and I really think out what I believe. No, you don't. You're a trained dog. And the dead giveaway is that when your master does something evil, you make excuses for your master and you blame the victim.
Yeah. And people say that she accelerated. She did not accelerate that vehicle until she was shot in the face.
Yeah.
Which tells me that her body was responding to being killed. And that's all because she was trying to go around. The dude shot her in the face I don't know how many times he hit her. At least once we know of for sure.
Yeah.
And then right after that, there's video of this doctor saying, I'm a physician. Can I go check her pulse? And they would not let him administer aid to her.
Can I go check a pulse?
No, back up now.
I'm a physician.
I don't care.
I understand. We got EMS coming. I get it. Just give us a second.
And they're like, we have our own EMTs coming. They're coming. And this lady's like, where are they at?
We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they?
You just shot her, right? You just shot my neighbor.
Yeah.
Where are they at? And this doctor's trying to get over there to administer aid. Not saying that would have mattered, but at least let him try.
Yeah. And then the fascist ran away like the cowardly murderer he is.
Don't let the murderer leave! Don't let the murderer leave!
If you're actually defending yourself, you don't have to run away from the scene, especially when you have your gang of thugs there anyway.
You guys are the fucking criminals! You don't get to tell us what to do! Fucking criminals! Don't let him leave! Don't let him leave!
Knew he committed murder.
Yeah.
And literally everybody knows he committed murder, including all the people pretending they don't think he did. They know he did. But they are so indoctrinated to worship the state and the law. I'm a supporter of law enforcement that they can't even say to themselves, okay, he was the bad guy. That agent of law and order committed murder. And the fact that, I mean, this is a fine example of now I have seen a couple of exceptions, so I'll throw that in before I say this. This is a fine example of why it's so ridiculous to say, well, there might be a few bad apple cops. Okay, where are all the good apples saying, wow, that's heinously evil. He should be arrested and put in a cage for the rest of his life, at least. And there are a few cops saying, yeah, that was absolutely murder. That wasn't at all justified. But most of them are doubling down. ICE is doubling down. Gestapo Barbie is out there calling the murder victim a terrorist. And the Mango Mussolini is out there saying the same thing. And the Vice Mango is out there saying the same thing. And nobody believes it. Nobody factually believes it, including the people who most zealously repeat it. They just don't care. They've been indoctrinated into feeling such a loyalty to their political masters that they will ignore not only the facts that they know to be true, but their own conscience, because they're trained dogs. And they think, well, I'm a good, upstanding citizen, I'm a moral human being, because they don't realize the power that authority has over them, that the belief in authority has over them, which renders them basically useless slaves and cheerleaders for evil. And they don't even recognize it or understand why.
Yeah. I don't know if this was in Minnesota or not, but there was a video that came out. They're videoing ICE like everybody. And I think that's great. I mean, we need the evidence of how these people are behaving. But an ICE agent walked up to this lady and he said, have you not been paying attention? Have you not learned? Did you see that video?
Yeah. You not learn your lesson?
Shame on you.
Listen,
Have y'all not learned from the past couple of days? Have you not learned?
Learned what? What's our lesson here? What do you want us to learn?
Following federal agents.
Give me my phone.
Like he's admitting that if you disobey us, we're just going to shoot you in the face. Have you not learned?
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. If you think you live in a free country and you're cheering that garbage on, man, I just it boggles my brain to even try to understand their mentality. I mean, I used to be a statist, but I don't remember being so brainwashed into just accepting the official narrative and just falling down to authority. Now, I was a back the blue guy at one time. I had the back the blue bracelets. I was handing out back the blue bracelets to my buddies. Hell, I gave a back the blue bracelet to this girl in the drive-thru at a liquor store one time because she saw mine. I was like, well, I got an extra one. Gave it to her. I was all about it. But I don't remember being that. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that because I think I did have said that in the past. Well, if they would have just complied, I think I have said that before.
Yeah, and I may have too. I mean, it feels like forever ago, but I had the sheriff's department sticker and the fraternal order of police sticker and everything. It's embarrassing to admit it. I was in the stupid cult too, like most people are. But this reminds me so much of like I'm sure your listeners are aware of the Milgram experiments. But early on, if you tell a complete stranger, if an authority figure tells a complete stranger, here, just lightly zap this other person, it's okay. They sort of agreed to it, so whatever. Almost everybody will do it. And it gets worse and worse and worse in the experiment. Anybody who hasn't read Obedience to Authority by Stanley Milgram, go read that and you will understand why this sort of thing happens. But as it gets worse and worse, to me, the most amazing part of his experiments is that hardly anybody was happy about basically doing what they thought was torturing a stranger. They would shake and they would tremble and they would sometimes cry. They would beg to be allowed to stop because they knew it was wrong. But they had been trained from birth to be obedient sheep and go along with authority. So it literally demonstrates that these people, they have a conscience, but their training is stronger than their conscience. They are trained dogs, trained to ignore their conscience and obey authority and cheer for authority instead. And that is what you see happening right now. And when it gets to the degree of, wow, all the way blatant murder on video, it's not he said, she said, we all freaking saw it. It is murder. And whether you want to argue the first shot, the second and third shots were absolutely indisputably murder. And the people making excuses for it are just demonstrating how profoundly spiritually and morally weak they are, that their loyalty to their masters who have trained them to feel loyalty their training is stronger than their conscience. And anybody pretending to be a Christian who's cheering for this, or even a conservative or a constitutionalist, anybody pretending any of that, no, you are a slave to evil psychopaths. And you are demonstrating how profoundly weak you are because somewhere inside, you know you're cheering for murder and evil, and you're too spineless to admit it because your loyalty to your master and showing how obedient and loyal you are to your political saviors matters more to you, literally, than opposing murder.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, I mean, you know that this show is based around the entanglement of the Christian with the state. So most of our audience, maybe a lot of our audiences are Christians, maybe not all of them, but I know you have some that follow your page as well.
Yeah.
And to me, and this is where my frustration I get more frustrated because of Christians and they're, in my opinion, and this is not a slight to anybody else, but in my opinion, Christians should be the most suspicious of anything the state's doing, considering the history of the state and how they murdered Christians and Jesus.
Yeah.
For not bowing down to worship the state.
No, they were just obeying the law. They were just enforcing the law. They were following orders. You can't blame them for nailing him to a cross. Like they were our brave men and women in blue or whatever color they were wearing back then. And as someone who doesn't even identify as Christian, this is exactly what is meant by thou shalt have no other gods before my face. If political politicians say, we're allowed to use violence here, we're allowed to oppress these people, we're allowed to murder these people, and your God says, thou shalt not murder, and you side with the politicians, government is your God. You are not a Christian. You are an absolute traitor to the religion you pretend to believe in. And I say that as somebody who doesn't even identify as Christian. I'm still more Christian than 95% of the people who call themselves Christians, because who they actually worship is government.
Yeah.
And thou shalt not covet unless it's government doing it and they're robbing your neighbors and giving you stuff. Thou shalt not steal unless it's the IRS. Thou shalt not murder unless it's national security and law enforcement. It's like anybody who's loyal to government, you are not loyal to what Jesus taught. Not even close.
Not even close.
And they don't even recognize that government is their God. It's not just, we organize things in a certain way for practical reasons. They absolutely put the moral authority of government above that of the God they say they believe in. And they don't even freaking notice.
Yeah.
And that's most people who wear the label Christian or any other religion.
You were talking about the Milgram experiment, and it seemed like they do have a conscience, not wanting to do what they're doing. But I think with situations like this, Christians can kind of separate themselves because they're not actually doing it. It's these other people doing it.
Right.
And they can kind of cheer it on or defend it from afar. I've said often that if you're putting these people in power, you're outsourcing your sin to them to commit these acts.
Yeah.
And I believe you have just as much blood on your hands as that cop does.
Yeah, it's just you're also a coward because you didn't do it yourself. Like you're cheering for evil and you're too much of a coward to do it yourself. So you voted for somebody else to do it for you. Like that's not an improvement.
Hey folks, we have set up a very simple way to donate to the Bad Roman Project through spotfund.com. Just go to SpotFund and search No King But Christ. Just $5 or $10 a month will go a long way in helping us keep this project going and continue spreading the very basic message of No King But Christ. So if you like what we were doing and can find it within your budget, go to spotfund.com and search No King But Christ, and you can set up monthly donations or even donate one time. Any and all donations help more than you know, and as always, any donations above production costs will go directly to charities in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank y'all so much. Now back to the show. Is there anything in that video that you could see that would justify what happened? Anything?
No. They shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have worn badges. They shouldn't have been armed. None of anything that ICE has ever done, including exist, is in any way justified. And that's why the entire spectrum of discussion between the left and right misses 99% of what matters. Well, she wasn't trying to run him over. She would have been absolutely justified to run him over. She wasn't trying to. She was trying to get away, obviously. But these are masked armed thugs trying to kidnap her. Now, that happens to be illegal too. But if they pass some law that says they're allowed to kidnap you, it's still wrong. You still have the right to defend yourself and resist by any means necessary. If she had run the one guy over and shot the other guy, she would have been absolutely justified. These were unstable, violent, trigger-happy, evil psychos trying to kidnap her. And we all know the stories of what ICE has done to people it kidnaps. Yes, she would have been justified to kill them. She wasn't trying to do that at all. She was trying to leave. But the fact that the discussion just between statists just skips over that entirely.
Yeah.
And then whines about legal technicalities. Legal technicalities don't determine right and wrong. If you're an aggressor with a badge, you're just as bad as an aggressor without a badge. And if you're an intended victim of an aggressor, you have the right to evade or defend yourself. And the aggressor having a badge makes absolutely no difference, morally speaking. And the fact that so many supposedly religious people can't comprehend that. No, because he's an agent of God. I mean, government. Yeah, that is your God, dumbass. That's why you think there's an actual different moral standard for those people. Because a thing capable of creating a different moral standard is called a God.
Yeah.
If you actually think the dictates of government and their laws alter morality and give some people special rights, you have to think government is superhuman and a deity. Because human beings can't just say some words and alter morality. Deities can. And that's why ages ago I wrote, even before I was all the way out of statism, I wrote a thing called The God Called Government, pointing out it's a religious belief. The belief in government isn't just, well, here's how we might organize to do things. It is absolutely a religious belief in the superhuman rights of political parasites. And it's the worst religious belief that's ever existed. It's the most bonkers. Like, people can argue about whether there's some God that you can't physically see with your own eyes, but to believe in a God that you know is just people because they scribbled some stuff, and you know it's not even good people. Like, we all know the politicians are like the worst people in the world, right? And yet people still imagine, well, it's the House and the Senate, and they pass a law and the legislative, and now it's the law, which they speak with, they speak the term with reverence as if they're talking about commandments from on high instead of threats from a gang of psychos, which is what the law is. And that's all it is. And the only reason people don't know that is they have a religious belief in the completely bogus, fake authority of political ruling classes. And they don't get that their own mental enslavement is why this happens.
There was, we're going to shift here a little bit because I've got some comments that were directed at me. Some comments you've probably seen. I know you've responded to some on my post and probably some you've seen on your own post, but there was one guy that kept tagging me and stuff, trying to justify what was going on. And then he's like, well, do you know that he was under a vehicle dragged 6 months ago for something like that? I'm like, so you're telling me this dude's got PTSD and he's out there with a pistol and he's out seeking revenge is what it looks like now. You're not building a case to defend this guy to me because you're telling me that he's even more wrong now. What was he even doing there if he was drug under a vehicle 6 months ago?
That's actually a fine example of that person did not believe that was a valid argument. He did not believe his own argument. It was literally an attempt for his brain to make an excuse for his insane loyalty to the state. And you can see some people when they argue, like, they know their position is BS, but they're kind of trying to fabricate something because they sort of have to. It's like watching a lawyer in court who knows he's totally in the wrong, but he's doing his tap dance to try to sound convincing. And he doesn't even believe it himself.
Yeah.
Because if I said, well, yeah, I murdered my neighbor today, but last year something really bad happened to me. Guess how many people would think that makes murder okay? 0, a grand total of 0 people. They'd say, yeah, that doesn't make it okay what you did today, you frickin' psycho.
Yeah.
And they all bring up, well, she was an instigator and she was interfering with ICE before and saying words to our beloved agents of the state that we didn't like, and like blame the victim, smear the victim. Like, oh, so if somebody has an opinion you don't like or says things you don't like, then murder's okay?
Yeah.
Is that where we're at? They know that argument is ridiculous. They're literally just, and this is, don't want to dive too deep into psychology. It's literally them throwing out BS to try to justify an emotional attachment to a crappy belief. And they know it. And people do that in all sorts of ways. Like if you know you're in the wrong and you're like, well, what about this? And change the subject and straw man argument and this, that, or the other thing, because somebody gets cornered and desperate. And, part of them knows they're in the wrong damn position, like that their argument is bogus, but they're just throwing out noise to try to justify it. Like, well, this happened before. And besides, she shouldn't have been there. And besides this, and besides that. Well, was it murder? Did he stand there when there was no threat to him and point a gun right in her face and pull the trigger? Yes, he did. Does any of your stupid noise change that? No, it doesn't. Why aren't you just admitting he committed murder? Because your loyalty to your God-called government is stronger than your loyalty to being a decent human being.
Yeah. And then they try to, I guess one of the cops had his cell phone out recording.
That was the guy who shot her.
Was it his actual shooter?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that. I thought it was the other guy, but they're trying to use that video to show that she was in the wrong. Think about what she said. She goes, "It's okay, dude. I'm not mad at you."
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay.
She was not yelling at him, screaming at him, spitting on him, or nothing like that. And after he shot her, he called her a fucking bitch.
Yep.
Fucking bitch.
There's my swear words for the afternoon or the evening.
Well, you were quoting a fascist. I don't know if that counts.
Oh,
that was his word.
Yeah. But it just goes to show what that guy was thinking. Like it's almost like he was there for revenge. I mean, I don't know how else to look at it because he was not in any danger.
Yeah. Incidentally, a thing I read earlier today, there was like a court review. I forget what year it was from. I don't have the citation in front of me. Where it went to court and basically the court ruled, I think it was ICE in particular. There's some law enforcement basically saying, yeah, you guys have a pattern of jumping in front of cars so that you can murder people because you said you felt threatened when you're not supposed to jump in front of cars. He did that as an excuse to murder her.
Yeah.
Like, just obviously, but the fact that courts have already said, yeah, you guys are doing this on purpose as an excuse to murder people. He's a murderous freaking psycho, and he did that for the purpose of having an excuse to murder her. Because, and that's, one of the things, I mean, there's a zillion things, but one of the obvious things is she was trying to run him over. Wow, it's amazing that he managed to stand in the same place, draw and fire, shoot her in the face 3 times in the same place without ever moving. Watch his feet. He doesn't move. If somebody was trying to run me over, the first thing I would do? Move.
Yeah.
And he never did. He never moved. The idea that she was trying to run him over.
Yeah.
And you think a bullet through someone's head is going to make their car disappear? Like if the car was actually headed at you, you'd still get run over, which is why if somebody was actually trying to run over you, you'd get out of the way. It's another thing. They know it's bullshit, but they're saying it because of their devotion to worshiping agents of the state. They can't just admit, yeah, that was obviously unjustified. And in fact, he obviously, from what he said afterwards, from his demeanor, from his actions, he was waiting for an excuse to commit murder. That's why that happened. That is 100% why that happened.
That's the only conclusion I can come up with now. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it. And it hasn't done me any good arguing with some of these people about it. But I've like I said, I was going to write down all these comments that I've had directed at me. And instead of it, I just started taking screenshots. So I'm going to read from my phone.
Sure.
Some of this stuff. And I'm going to let you pick them apart for me. This first one is, if I'm lawfully standing in front of a car and the driver tries to run me over, yes, I'm within my rights to defend myself.
I usually don't focus too much on the law side because law is BS anyway. He wasn't lawfully in front of the car. He was a member of a gang of armed psychopaths intentionally surrounding her with the intention of kidnapping her because they didn't like things she said. He deserved to be run over. She wasn't trying to do that. She was trying to leave. He deserved to be run over. He was part of an armed kidnapping gang. So the idea that, he was just some innocent person standing in front of it. No, he wasn't. And whoever wrote that comment knows he wasn't. It's a prime example. They're throwing out noise to justify their loyalty to fascist lunatics rather than admitting he had no right to be there. None of them had any right to be there. They had no right to approach her. They didn't even have any legal authority to approach her, but they certainly had no moral right to approach her. But to then pray, well, if this happened, yeah, except what you're describing isn't what happened. What happened is some unstable, power-happy, homicidal maniacs tried to kidnap a woman and she tried to leave, so they murdered her. That is what happened, and everybody knows it, including the people who don't want to admit it and are making excuses for the psychopaths. Like I said, not to be a broken record, but I'm going to be a broken record because their loyalty to the state is stronger than their loyalty to be a decent human being.
Right. All right. The next one is, I probably wouldn't be trying to antagonize and block federal agents from doing whatever they were trying to do. They have a monopoly on force, so if you interfere with them, you better be ready. That lady put herself in a pretty shit situation.
This one, it's funny because I see a number of people saying this, and I've said something sort of close, but I always follow it up with a different thing. There's a big difference between, you did something that was tactically a bad idea. Like, you walked down this dark alley in this crappy neighborhood at 2 a.m, waving around a handful of money. Like, yeah, that was a bad idea. Does it mean you deserve to be victimized? No. Would it make your robbers or murderers like morally justified to victimize? No. Is it tactically a bad idea? Yeah. If somebody wants to say, yeah, this was murder Also, she probably, tactically speaking, shouldn't have been doing that. Not she's an evil person who deserves to be murdered for doing that, but you might not want to do that because these are unstable psychos. The thing is, the majority of people who bring that up, they don't do the second part that say it was totally unjustified and evil, but probably shouldn't have put yourself in that position, which, I mean, I don't even agree with that part. If decent people don't put themselves in the position to get in the way of authoritarian psychos do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Be that as it may, most of the people are like, well, she shouldn't have been there, period, end of comment. It's like, okay, do you mean tactically? Because the fact that you stopped your comment there kind of makes it sound like you're trying to blame the victim. As if you can go from, well, technically that was dangerous to, therefore you deserve to be murdered. And you're not going to say that part out loud because that's insane and evil, and you know it would sound insane and evil. But if you leave off the part about it was horrible and evil what they did to her, but maybe she shouldn't have put herself in that position, okay, I could agree with both. I don't even all the way agree with not putting yourself in that position. But okay, like describing the tactical wisdom of doing a certain thing. Like I've done plenty of things, including daring the federal government to prosecute me. And they did, and they put me in a cage for a year. And which, by the way, I knew was an absolute possibility. And people are like, well, why did you do that? Like you put yourself in that position. I was like, I absolutely put myself in that position intentionally, knowing that might happen. Now, do you think it's okay that I was caged for not paying tribute to a ruling class? Because if you say, no, that's not okay, but you kind of dared them to, yeah, I agree. I did. And it's not okay. And I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the immoral one for being caged for not paying tribute to psychopaths. You can say I did something tactically unwise. I'm not even sure I'd argue against that. And I knew it at the time. Like I wasn't trying to be tactical and keep myself safe. And I was telling everybody that ahead of time, don't do this. This is not a way to keep yourself safe. But I feel compelled to do this and publicize it for, reasons I was explaining back then. And if you say, well, that was dumb. Okay, I'm not even going to argue with you. I knew it was quote unquote dangerous. But if you say, therefore you deserve to be robbed and put in a cage for a year, then you're a crappy human being. If you say, well, you should have expected that, I did expect that, and I won't argue with you. If you say you deserve that, then I'll argue with you because now you're a cheerleader for evil. And so the number of people who say, well, she shouldn't have been there. Okay, but do you mean she therefore deserved to be murdered? Or just that might not have been the best, most wise tactical decision? Because there's a big freaking difference.
Yeah. All right. The next one is, and I think you may have responded to this one. She told me, I noticed you keep using the word gang here. The lady knew exactly who they were. They are not a gang. They are ICE agents. When law officers, ICE, FBI, or any other law or federal tell you to stop, it's usually in your best interest to listen. If you chose to be an idiot, as you imply, then unfortunately there are consequences. Unfortunately for this lady and her family, it resulted in her death.
Try not to swear.
Oh, I did a lot of swearing that day.
Yeah, and that person's like being nice enough to just all the way wear their slave think on their sleeve. It's not a gang because that gang works for political psychopaths. So they're not a gang. Like, yes, they are. And I think I responded, yeah, they're still a gang. They're armed, unstable psychos trying to kidnap somebody. You just think that's okay because of who they work for, which is a bunch of politicians. They're still a gang. It's like saying, oh, that's not a gang. They work for like some Mexican drug cartel. Well, yeah, they're still a gang. It's a bunch of armed people trying to kidnap somebody. Oh, but they work for them, so it doesn't count as a gang. The only reason anybody thinks that is because they've been indoctrinated into imagining, well, government has magical rights. So when they send an armed gang of psychopaths after you, the psychopaths are the good guy. And anybody who disobeys or resists, they're the bad guy and they deserve whatever happens to them. But it's nice when people just display their indoctrination that obviously.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it wasn't murder because the guy had a badge. Like, oh, is that how morality works?
Yeah.
Okay.
This next one, and you may have saw this because this dude mentioned you and I both in part of the comment. I think he ended up unfriending me, which is okay with me. But he said, so gross. She wasn't innocent trying to not be kidnapped. She was an antagonist at best and an attempted murderer. So Craig and Larken also thought George Floyd was a hero.
This is a shining example. First of all, notice antagonist. Aw, did she say some words that your favorite fascist didn't like?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not an antagonist against evil psychopaths, you're kind of a wuss. We should be antagonists against evil, especially somebody who considers himself Christian. You should probably be an antagonist against evil. But just that word. I mean, imagine any other context. Oh, well, this person was saying they don't like these violent street gangs in their neighborhood. So, when they got murdered, it was totally justified. They were antagonizing the gangs by criticizing them. Yeah, whatever criticism she had of them were probably way understated, but compared to the criticisms I'd have of ICE. But the idea that, well, she deserved to die because she was being critical of them, antagonizing. Well, with a gun, no. With a threat, no. And then he just blatantly lies. She was trying to run one of them over. He knows that's a lie. He's just fishing for excuses for his crappy belief system. It's outcome-based arguing. I refer to it as, where the outcome has to be law enforcement are the good guys. So now I'll fabricate whatever bonkers and intellectually dishonest argument I have to that ends up with that being the punchline that law enforcement are the good guys, because I can't admit I'm a cheerleader for evil. And if you support law enforcement, you're a cheerleader for evil.
Yeah. This next one is, and I love how his use of exclamation points, like it's going to change my opinion on something, and sometimes he likes to use all caps as well. But he said, Craig, that woman had been there blocking and harassing federal law enforcement all day. Listen to the recording. She tells those ICE officers to leave her neighborhood. Spreading hate and propaganda is a sin. I don't think she was there all day. I think they said that she just dropped her kid off at school.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's been there all day, but whether or not she was there all day, and I'll let you pick this apart, but I got to say something. If she's telling ICE officers to leave her neighborhood, yeah, she's okay. It's okay.
Good.
So let's shoot. But since you think that's a problem, we should just shoot her in the face.
Yeah.
It's so absurd to me, man. And I can't with these people sometimes. And I'm hoping after this, I'm glad I got to speak with you because it helps me vent a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping after this, I could kind of turn my phone upside down and take a break. Just leave it all alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much psychology involved with all this. I mean, this is total indoctrination, and the statists think like cult members because they are cult members and they don't recognize it. And if you try to point it out, their arguments get more and more convoluted and weird and twisted. Especially when their beloved God called government and its laws, when the thugs aren't even following their own laws, they'll still make excuses for it. And I talk about this in The Most Dangerous Superstition, that once you imagine there's an authority, if they act outside the bounds of their supposed legal authority, you'll still get bootlickers making excuses for it because their loyalty even to the law doesn't matter. Like, that's just a thing they give lip service to. Their real loyalty is obey the master or you're bad and you deserve whatever happens to you. And that person's comment could hardly be a more obvious example of, if you don't obey the master, you're bad, and whatever happens to you, you deserve it. That is a slave. That is 100% a mental slave, blaming the slave who gets whipped for daring to say bad things about the overseer. And then calling it a sin to criticize the overseer. Like, yeah, why would that be a sin? Did God say thou shalt not criticize government? Because pretty sure Jesus did that constantly.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but your God said it because your God is government. And the fact that they use the word sin is such an amazing admission that I'm sure they didn't notice, because a sin is disobeying a commandment of God. And they're describing somebody disobeying a commandment of government because that is their God.
Yeah.
Spice up your day with a taste so fine. Bad Roman salsa gonna blow your mind. Through the maze of politics where people can't see. Homemade salsa gonna make you feel free. No king but Christ living in your soul. Bad Roman salsa helps the podcast grow. Pick up your Bible, put the politics down. Support the show with every bite and salsa with us through this crazy ride. Bad Roman salsa and no king but Christ. BadRomanSalsa.com. BadRomanSalsa.com. Grab a jar, try a bite. Back to the show and back to Christ.
This next one kind of plays into something we've already talked about, but I'll read it and if we can add anything to it, maybe, or just move on to the next one. But she said she shouldn't have hit the agent and tried to run. No kidnapping attempt. ICE is not a gang; they're federal officers, which we've already kind of gone over that. But
yeah,
if they're trying to get into your vehicle without your consent, what do you think they're trying to do to you? They're going to detain you and they're going to take you to jail.
Right.
We saw there was another video that came out. They pulled 2 people out of their vehicles today and arrested them. They were citizens. They're not immigrants. They just pulled them out of their vehicles.
Yeah.
And they were fighting. These 2 people were fighting back.
Yeah.
And they all just ganged up on her. Tell me that is not gang activity.
Yeah, it obviously is. And since they will obviously lie their asses off as an excuse to murder you, does anybody not know that they will also lie their asses off to prosecute them? How many stories have come out, and every single frickin' time Gestapo Barbie or some other spokes demon for the state comes out and says, well, this person tried to run over and they tried to attack our officers. And then the video comes out. Oh, you mean they were minding their business and got violently assaulted by your fascist pigs? Over and over and over again. And it keeps happening in court. And the judges even keep throwing it out like, yeah, that's not at all what you said happened. So the idea that, oh, well, just let them arrest you. No. If they try to kidnap you, it's probably a good idea to kill them, given their humongous track record of lying their asses off to try to cage people for things they didn't even do. That's aside from the fact that the whole legal thing is BS to begin with. They lie constantly, like every stinking time. And I see these every time there's a news story out that, oh, ICE says somebody attacked him. It's like, yeah, likelihood they're lying their asses off, about 97%.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up story is, oh, a video came out, shows that that's not at all what happened. But they are willing to lie their asses off to put you in a cage. So maybe shoot them instead of letting them put you in a cage. That would be absolutely justified. They already show themselves for what they are. They're not even law enforcement, which wouldn't make it okay.
Yeah.
But they're not a gang because they wear badges. Holy smokes, people.
Yeah. All right. This next one, and it'll kind of lead in. I told you I got a couple questions from our discussion group for you specifically. This next, there's a couple of comments. Same person. I'm going to read to you, and then it'll lead into that first question from the discussion group. He said, I believe that authorities may have the ability to detain any individual until they can provide proof of citizenship. Once a valid driver's license or passport is presented, they are generally required to release the individual. And I said they're violating the Fourth Amendment. I told you this before we started recording. I don't like having to go back to the Constitution because I don't believe in the Constitution, but I'm also a big believer in trying to meet people where they're at. And I know he's got a cursory understanding of the Constitution. And so I shared the Fourth Amendment with him. He said they were not attempting a search or seizure, so the Fourth Amendment does not apply to their efforts to obtain identification. And I said they literally tried to enter her vehicle without consent or a warrant, so it absolutely applies.
Yeah, it's actually a perfect example of what I was just talking about. That person doesn't give a shit about the Constitution. They know it's a violation. The idea that, well, they can just randomly stop you and you have to prove they can demand the papers. And then if you don't, prove to their satisfaction whatever they want you to prove, if they put you in a cage, well, that's your own fault. Thanks, Nazi. like literally Nazi checkpoints. You're literally pretending that Nazi checkpoints, they're okay under the Fourth and Fifth Amendments. And the fact that they the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to illegal aliens, stupid claim to begin with. What part of no person do you not understand? It's also just logically stupid. Like, well, they have the right to stop illegal aliens without probable cause and demand they prove. If they don't know ahead of time, that means they also have the right to stop you without probable cause, dumbass. If they don't know ahead of time, you're saying they get to do that to anybody. And nobody actually thinks that's what the Fourth Amendment says. Again, this is their loyalty to authority, outranking even their loyalty to the Constitution or the law or any of that. They're just trying to retroactively fabricate an excuse for being cheerleaders for authoritarian psychopaths. I mean, we could, whether you can decide whether you want to or not. ICE shouldn't exist. There's no constitutional authority for ICE to exist at all. And the political right does exactly what the political left does. Well, yeah, we know the Second Amendment says feds aren't allowed to do gun control, but we think it's super scary and everybody should be super scared and then they should be allowed to do it because heck with the Constitution. And all the Republicans in unison go, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, show me where the federal government is given power to forcibly control who can come in and out of the country. They weren't anywhere. They never were. And they were specifically told in the 9th and 10th Amendments, if this Constitution doesn't say the feds get to do it, the feds don't get to do it.
Right.
And Republicans don't care because they don't believe in the Constitution either. Because, scary brown people.
Yeah.
We need them to do something completely arbitrary and unconstitutional. And they don't believe in it any more than the Democrats do. But they will fabricate, well, it says something about naturalization. Yeah, that's paperwork for becoming a citizen. It's not pointing a gun in your face unless you present Z papers to the satisfaction of fascists. It's a slight difference there.
Yeah. You kind of answered this first question. And they said, ask if he'll outline how ICE is not authorized to exist under the Constitution. I heard him lay it out somewhere, but can't find it anymore. Was pretty good.
Yeah.
And you did kind of talk about that a little bit just now.
Yeah. For those who, and again, I don't even believe in the Constitution. It was way too authoritarian, as demonstrated by what we're seeing right now, which was the end result of that bad idea. But in the Constitution, it specifically lists, here are the things the feds are allowed to do. And James Madison, father of the Constitution, said that powers delegated to the federal government are few and defined. The rest belong to the states or to the people. Like, here's a list of what the feds are supposed to do. And part of the Bill of Rights, the 9th and 10th Amendments, were specifically the anti-federalists saying, we want to guarantee it's not going to make up its own powers. So we want amendments in there that say, if this doesn't give them the power to do something, they don't stinking have the power to do it. That's why the 9th and 10th Amendments are there.
Right.
There's nothing in the Constitution authorizing the feds to forcibly control anybody coming in and out of the country.
Yeah.
And it's just not, it's not there.
Yeah. I had to use that same argument during COVID with work because I don't care what they're saying in Washington, D.C. If it's not, they don't have the authority to force a vaccine on us or any of that other stuff. They don't have the authority. I said, and they're like, are you talking about like the Constitution? I was like, yeah, if it's not specifically laid out for the federal government, they don't have that authority. That's where the 10th Amendment comes in. And it didn't really work. They finally backed off of it. I had to get an exemption. I took a religious exemption. I wasn't going to take it. I was going to quit my job before I got a vaccine, but it didn't matter. But anyway, one more question. I'll let you get out of here. We're almost at an hour now.
I'm having fun.
He said, ask him if he thinks it could possibly have been done on purpose by the government, false flag propaganda with the help of the government-controlled media to see public opinion.
In this case, no. That's not to say they don't constantly do things to cause division. But the reason I don't at all see this as an example of that is they have a very specific agenda in causing division where they need both sides to basically be mad at each other and both be looking for a political solution. Yes. This was also true. I've heard some people say that about the Epstein stuff. And when Elon Musk came out and said, yeah, the reason Trump isn't releasing the files is because he's in them.
Yeah.
I was like, whoop, he wasn't supposed to say that. And then immediately, sorry, I got carried away with my comments and accidentally said something totally true. They want us hating each other. They want the parties screaming at each other. That much is true. And they will absolutely make up and instigate conflicts to do that. And I think there are plenty of examples of that. In this case, the result is government looks really damn bad. Yeah, the left is condemning it, but a hell of a lot of Republicans are even going, okay, that was a bit much. And they're looking really damn bad to anybody with a shred of a conscience. So, I mean, you might guess that they did it on purpose, but they're just really bad at it now. But this sort of like the division in general helps them as long as both sides are looking for a government solution. We're going to elect our guy to blah, blah, blah. Like Trump is absolutely controlled opposition. And the whole let's be scared of illegal immigrants. Yeah, that was absolutely instigated on purpose. And every time they run a story of illegal immigrant does some scary, horrible thing, I murder or something.
Yeah.
It's like, pretty sure murder's illegal. But okay, if you want to make the issue that they came from a different piece of dirt, just so we can have a new authoritarian bullshit, gee whiz. Yeah, that fits the mold of scare people as an excuse to push authoritarian power. But something like this doesn't really work for that. I think it's making a lot more people pissed off. And I mean, that's true of a lot of things going on in Mango Mussolini's administration. Bongino leaving and immediately getting just piled on by his audience, which is just hysterical. You traitorous bastard, covering up all the Epstein crap. And he's like, I'm back and I'm tough. And they're just bashing him. And now he's turning around and whining at his audience. Oh, you black pillars are just, you don't understand how great Trump is. Oh, shut up, you bootlicking traitor. And so, like, if they're doing that on purpose, it didn't go very well for them. So it's not that government doesn't do that sort of thing. It's that the particular outcome of an event usually tells me whether it, like, same thing with I saw a lot of people talking about like the Charlie Kirk shooting. It's all fake to get division. Not really, because the end result is lots of people were basically saying, oh, funny how right after he started saying maybe we shouldn't be giving billions of dollars to the warmongers over there, suddenly he died. It wasn't like, it's hard to, I mean, they're going to try to spin it as, let's blame it on the libtards. It's like, yeah, but they didn't do it. Like, there's some unstable enough that they probably could. But to me, the measure of whether you should expect that something was a government psyop or false flag or anything like that is, does it actually serve their real agenda? And loyalty to this state is their agenda. So if they're scaring you about illegal aliens so you'll run off to Trump and demand a wall, yeah, they did that on purpose so you would cheer for authoritarianism. If they go, we're all going to die of this disease, so you run off and cheer for shutdowns and authoritarian control, yeah, they did that on purpose to get you to cheer for more authoritarian control. If they do something which makes half the country say, wow, the police suck, we hate you, and the other side, some of them make excuses and other ones are like, okay, that was a little bit messed up, that doesn't really serve their agenda very well. And I think it's, I'll throw this in, I'll try to be quick. I think it's very easy for those of us who are, sort of familiar with all the ways in which evil psychopaths do evil crap and they manipulate people. And there's a movie about that called Jones Plantation.
Yeah.
But for those of us familiar with it, it's easy to sort of fall into the trap of everything is by design. Everything that happens was their plan and was intentional. No, it isn't. Like, yeah, they try that stuff constantly. They will do anything they can to manipulate and scare people and divide people. It doesn't mean they're all powerful. They're not. They're not omniscient. They're not omnipotent. They're kind of bumbling idiots at this point because they keep pissing off their own supporters, like Bongino style. And now you see lots of people turning on Trump who were like his supporters, like, what the hell is this? No, it was a hoax. Never mind that thing that you were all saying you wanted revealed. It was a hoax. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, I told you he was going to do this. I told you before he was elected the first time. So when the outcome is less trust in government, that's not what they're going for. Division, they love it. Fear, they love it. Having us mad at each other, they love that. But they don't like the fact that, if you've seen the recent charts, trust in government has come way down in recent years to lower than it's been for many, many decades. And this isn't going to help with that. This isn't going to make people go, no, I totally trust them. Because even the people making excuses for this, they know in their heart of hearts they're lying their asses off to cover up the fascist crap that they support. And even a bunch of their fellow former supporters are like, okay, this is messed up. This isn't okay. And to have the entire party cheering for blaming the victim and saying, nope, this is okay. She was a terrorist. Like, if they did this on purpose, it was colossally stupid. And it was, I mean, they're pretty damn dumb, but I don't think they're dumb enough to do this. Like, I could see them try to do something that's sort of more debatable about it was good, it was bad. They do that sort of thing all the time. But this, I don't see it in this case because it doesn't actually serve. Because at the end of the day, broken record again, what matters is people's loyalty to the ruling class. When they stop feeling an obligation to obey, game over. You don't even need a revolution. You don't even need anything. When the people finally figure out, why are we paying tribute to these psychos or doing anything?
Yeah.
Like, oh, fine example. When Marjorie Taylor Greene and a bunch of other people go out and maybe we need a tax strike. That is not what the ruling class wants, is people talking about maybe we should stop giving these bastards our money.
Yeah.
And I still saw some pro-freedom people going, no, this is all a trick. No, it isn't. When the talk is disobey and resist, that is exactly the one thing the psychopaths don't want people talking about. And that, again, the Milgram experiments show that as soon as somebody is there and somebody else suggests to them, no, I'm not going to do this. This is wrong. Almost everybody very quickly goes, yeah, this is wrong. I'm not doing this either. And that to me, that's one of the most important things of the study, even though it's sort of a footnote of one of the variations. But if you have another actor present who says, this is wrong, we can't continue, almost everybody stops right then. So the last thing the psychopaths want is people talking about disobey and resist, because that is the end of them when enough people say, yeah, we're not obligated to go along with this crap anymore.
Yeah.
And then when enough people do, you don't even have to resist. You just ignore them.
I agree with that 100%. Do you think that this cop's going to be prosecuted by chance, or do you think they're just going to let him get away with it?
They might have to hang him out to dry, which they do every once in a while. Like, they're all fascist thugs, but if the angry peasants with torches and pitchforks get angry enough, sometimes they'll hang one of their stupid pawns out to dry and have him be prosecuted. They don't give a crap about justice. The court system doesn't, the ruling class does. But if they look out at the unwashed masses and they see, they might just take things into their own hands if we don't at least go through the motion of pretending to institute justice. So I think he'll probably be prosecuted. They'll drag it out so that people will calm down and forget, and then it'll be something probably sort of lame. Because that's what they usually do. Well, we'll prosecute him, but they'll drag it out, and he's out on bail. And after all these motions, it'll be 57 billion years before he goes to trial, and then you will all have forgotten about it, and we'll let him go, and then he'll join some other police force somewhere else. So whatever the quote unquote justice system does, it will be to try to cover their own ass. It will have nothing to do with giving a crap about justice.
Yeah. I saw that they started a GoFundMe for the victim's family.
Yeah.
And it's got several $100,000 already raised. But then I saw one today that they started one for the cop. And there's over a couple $100,000 raised for him now.
Yeah. Bootlickers will do that.
It's a strange thing. By the way, that was a great Trump impersonation. I enjoyed that.
Some people say it sounds more like Eric Cartman, but I say, what's the difference?
What exactly is the difference between Eric Cartman and Donald Trump?
Almost nothing.
Almost nothing. Well, anything you want to add? If not, I'll go ahead and plug anything you want to plug, and we'll have it in the show notes as well. I'll let you get out of here.
First of all, I've been on a couple shows that were more conservative, still status leaning when Jones Plantation came out. And a bunch of them are still, Trump isn't like that. He's different. And I wonder how many of them are like, oh, holy crap, I just voted for Mr. Jones. And I fell for it again. So if you haven't seen Jones Plantation, check that out. And if you really want to understand why people are so psychotic and suddenly their morality is out the window, feel free to read my book, The Most Dangerous Superstition. I would throw this in. I always throw in like an attempt to be encouraging, because it's easy for decent people to watch this and go, holy smokes, what the hell has this country become? What is wrong with people? They were already this brainwashed. They were already this indoctrinated. They just didn't have the opportunity to demonstrate it this openly, just like during COVID.
Yeah.
They were already that dumb and gullible and easy to scare and divide and all that. And it's very easy in the short run to go, everybody's totally bonkers. But I'm actually writing another book called Reaching Humanity. If you back up and look at the larger picture, humanity, believe it or not, has made leaps and bounds towards actual peaceful coexistence, which requires the absence of a ruling class. And it's easy to miss that if you're looking at like today's news and, oh, there's a fascist murdering somebody. Like there have been countries where that wouldn't have been the news. That's like every day in every city in the country. Like if you're Nazi Germany or Soviet Union or something, nobody's shocked by that. Nobody's talking about that. It's just, oh, well, that's how things are. So even the fact that there's a discussion about this, historically speaking, that is unusual. Like for most of human history, oh, the royalty killed somebody for disobeying. Okay, what's for dinner? Like that's most of the world through most of history. At least now humanity is to the point where lots of people are like, whoa, that's messed up. That shouldn't happen. And that is a growth of an instinctive level understanding of self-ownership and voluntarism, even if they don't really have a philosophy, even if their brain still has the tentacles of statism in it. So I'm actually still very optimistic about the future of humanity, precisely because we live in a world where people don't just go, oh, well, guess that's what happens. Lots of people go, this is not how things should be. And for most of human history, nobody even dared to say that. And so, yeah, the fact that you and I can have this discussion, yeah, it's frustrating, it's horrible and all that. But there weren't these discussions at all in public.
Yeah.
Mostly because you get your head chopped off if you had these discussions. So that is progress. I mean, long way to go, but that is progress. And humanity is absolutely going to outgrow the superstition of authority.
Well, I think that's a great way to end the show.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think that was a positive note. Because what we've talked about today has been pretty. Yeah. It sucks that you and I when we sit down, we have to talk about. We don't have to, but these are things we're talking about.
Yeah, we usually get triggered by
something else.
Yeah. Something other than murder, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, anything else? If not, I'm going to let you get out of here, and then we'll enjoy the rest of our evening.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Onward and forward, and keep pushing actual morality, even among the indoctrinated. And I think it's important to not give up hope and not just stop.
Yeah.
Because if people don't ever hear a contrary opinion to, we have to obey the master, they will never think an opinion other than we have to obey the master.
Right. Yeah. I tell people all the time, keep talking. I had a guy ask me the other day, he was having a conversation with somebody, wanted me to give him some advice on how to handle it. I said, I mean, you may not be able to reach that guy.
Yeah.
But one thing I've learned over the last 6 years of this project that we've been working on is that there are people that are listening, though.
Yeah.
I do know that because I get the messages, I hear from them.
Yeah.
So I think it's important just to remember, keep talking, because somebody out there is listening.
I used to be a statist, and you used to be a statist, and almost everybody I know used to be a statist.
Yeah.
Until they heard some other people saying stuff. So keep saying stuff.
Keep saying stuff. All right, Larken, I'm going to let you get out of here. Thanks again.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Bad Roman Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you find your podcasts to never miss an episode. And while you're at it, if you like what you heard, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, it really helps people find us. 100% of donations are given to local charities in Memphis, Tennessee. To learn more about the Bad Roman Project and to find show notes, please visit thebadroman.com.
Let's go. Yeah. Left, right, left, right, left. We got our marching orders, man. Left, right, left, right. We'd rather serve God deserve Caesar, you feel me? Right, I'm just trying to live what he